Hi, I'm Don King, your classroom instructor. Let's talk about your logbook. By law, truck drivers must keep up with their hours of service. There are limits as to how many hours a driver can work and or drive, and how much rest he or she must get in any given time period. The professional driver must keep a record of these hours and have that record available to present to lawful authority at all times. His or her employer must also keep copies of these records. Today, the primary way this is done is by using an electronic logging device, or ELD. These devices gather information automatically with little driver input. Traditionally, paper logs were used and still are used today in certain situations, such as in the unlikely event that the ELD fails. Hours of service and logging will be covered in depth later during the classroom portion of your course and reinforced daily by your instructor in the field. However, the moment you begin your training, for all practical purposes, you are legally considered an on-duty driver. And from that moment forward, when on duty or off, you and the school are required to maintain a record of your hours of service and time off. And you're required to have that record in your possession at all times, while in the classroom, on the range, and especially while in a truck on the road. The method we'll use to keep those records is the old way: the driver's daily log. Let's look at the daily log and some of its components. The logbook, among other things, consists of a month's worth of logs in duplicate. This is so you can keep a copy of your hours as required by law, and your employer, or in this case, your school, can be in compliance with regulations by also maintaining a copy of that record. In the back of the daily logbook, there's a carbon sheet that's used to make the duplicate copy. Each day, you will turn in the top copy of your log to your instructor and keep the duplicate in the logbook. Let's talk about how to record our hours of service to account for our classroom time. Before you begin, it must be understood that by law, all entries must be legible. That means that most anyone should be able to read your writing. That includes your signature. If your signature isn't very readable, you'll need to modify it so that it will be. In addition to that, you must print all writing and use black ink. Cursive is not used on logbooks. Clarity is the goal, and you'll find that the regulating authorities compromise on it very little, so be neat and legible. One last thing before we begin. Write your name on the front of the logbook. Let's begin. First, look at the carbon sheet in the back of the logbook. You'll need to detach it and bring it to the front. It's perforated and you'll want to be careful and not tear it as you detach it. Next, place the carbon between the first blank red log sheet and the yellow log sheet behind it. Each day you will need to remember to do this, or you won't get your duplicate. All set. Let's make some entries. Enter the date at the top of the sheet. Enter the carrier. In this case, the carrier is Tri-County Technical College. Enter the main address, 512 Michelin Boulevard, Anderson, South Carolina, 29625. Enter the home terminal address. Now, out in the trucking world, your company's main address and terminal address could be totally different. Not so in this case. You can rewrite the school's main address here, or just write the word same. Next, you want to sign the log. Remember, your signature must be legible. Your co-driver will always be your instructor. Put his name under co-driver's name. Okay, let's look at the grid. There are 4 rows representing 4 types of duty status. You will always fit into one of those 4. Notice the grid begins at midnight on the left and ends at midnight on the right, placing noon at the middle of the grid. The time can be broken down into as little as 15-minute increments. For class and most of the course, you'll be using whole hours. For the purposes of logging classroom time, it's pretty simple. Classroom time and simulator time are recorded on the on-duty line. Any work other than literally driving a truck on the public roads is recorded on this line. Time in the truck on the range is not considered driving and is also recorded as on duty, not driving. Let's make a beginning entry, reporting our off-duty time so far. We do this by drawing a line across the row representing time in a given duty status. The lines must be drawn in the middle of the status row and be neat and legible. We do this with a ruler. Now, if I account for my time before class, and class begins at 5 p.m., then we draw the line from midnight on the off-duty row to 5 p.m. on the same row. At the 5 p.m. mark, I draw a line down to the bottom row of on duty and end the line in the middle of the row there. Then I find the 5 p.m. grid line on the remarks grid and draw an angled line down across the remarks area. Under that line, I write the word classroom. If the class was using the simulator, I would write simulator. If class ends at 10 p.m., I would then draw a line in the middle of the grid row to the 10 o'clock mark. Then draw a line on the middle of the top line, or off-duty line. From there, I would draw a line straight to the right all the way to the midnight line. Now, let's finish the log for the day. Under total miles today, enter none. Under truck, tractor, and trailer numbers, write NA. For not applicable. Now, let's total our hours. Count the hours for off-duty and enter them in the total hours column to the right. Do the same for all 4 grid rows. In this example, you should have 19 hours off-duty, 0 hours sleeper berth, 0 hours driving, and 5 hours on duty. And now we add all the hours and enter the total at the bottom of the total hours column. 24 hours. The entire day is accounted for. You're ready to turn your log sheet in. Now, for the purposes of logging classroom and simulator time, this is all you'll be required to do. Your logging will change slightly when you begin range time and road time, and your field instructor will guide you through those duties. Don't worry if there are unanswered questions just now. This tutorial is to help you meet your hours of service requirement right as you begin. You will get classroom instruction and reinforcement from your field instructor as you progress through the course. Each day you're in the class, you will fill out a new log sheet just like this one, except what about the weekend? Good question. Let's say the last day of class was Thursday, May 5th, and we don't come back to class until Monday the 9th. In this case, we will fill out one log sheet for multiple days and date it for the first full day off, May 6th. On the grid, we draw a line on the off-duty status from midnight to midnight and total it 24, with all zeros under it for a total of 24. In the remarks area, we write the words off-duty, May 6th to May 8th, 2024. All other entries, such as carrier and miles driven, would remain the same, but leave the co-driver entry blank. This way, one sheet can cover the whole weekend. Now that pretty much completes what you need to know to do your logs while you're going through the classroom. When you get out into the field with your field instructor, he'll show you how to do what you need to do out there. Happy driving.